An event of this magnitude, a happening of this significance, needs to be addressed in a post-fight podcast. So welcome to Kamikaze Overdrive's UFC 193 post-fight podcast, where I will take a look at the UFC 193 main event. And the first thing I would like to say is congratulations to Holly Holm, the new UFC women's Bantamweight champion. What a win, what a dominant, one-sided victory, and onward and upward for a very talented fighter and I'm hoping a fantastic future champion. Now, I'm going to look at various things here. The first thing I want to look is how the fight played out. The people I was sitting with, I picked Ronda Rousey. Basically, it's as a predictor, you're in a no-win situation, because if you pick against Ronda and you're wrong, you look like an idiot. And if you pick against Ronda and you're right, you look like a guy who just guessed in the eyes of most people. Not always, but in the eyes of most people, it looked like you were just guessing. Either way, I picked Ronda Rousey to win by submission. I felt she'd get in, she'd grapple with Holly Holm, she'd eventually get her down, and she'd eventually lock up an arm bar, most likely. That she had her opportunity, it didn't happen. So here's when you look at that fight, it really reminded me, and actually before it started, I spoke to the people I was sitting with, and I said, look, maybe this might play out like Joanna Jędrzejczyk versus Carla Esparza, where a grappler tries feverishly to get the fight in her realm of dominance and gets lit up by the striker and finished. Well, it didn't quite go that way because Ronda seemed pretty contingent on willing to strike with Holly Holm, and that was mistake number one. She did try and grapple at times, but it wasn't her number one goal, and that ultimately cost her. I was incredibly impressed with Holly Holm's composure, her lateral movement. Every time Ronda bull rushed and came forward, there was Holly Holm to diffuse the pressure, move out of the way, and do damage. Ronda was coming full board forward with her face out and getting absolutely lit up. And every time she got cracked with a counter, the technical focus and confidence that she usually has clearly started to disappear, and it became more frantic and desperate. And that look in her face, like, I've got to get in, I've got to do something significant here. And Holm just remained very composed. She knew she was having success. She didn't go out of her way to just, break from her game plan because she can get caught up in the moment. She kept doing exactly what brought her to the dance, and that's why it was an impressive win. Ultimately, the head, the duck under, I don't know what just the way she avoided Ronda. I believe it was the start of the second round when Ronda, basically went down to a knee, launching herself in to try and grab a hold of her. That was so impressive. So impressive. And then hurt her on the hands, turned her just right, and landed a beautiful head kick to finish her off. It was a well-executed game plan start to finish. As far as Rowdy Ronda Rousey, the former champion, is concerned, you could clearly see the holes in her striking. Her footwork wasn't there. She can throw bombs, and when she gets a fighter like a Betchko Heda, who's not a top level striker either, and you get her going in a brawl, and I'm sure you look fantastic. But the unfortunate aspect of it is when you get a fighter like Holly Holm, who remained extremely technical, who remained extremely composed, and fought her game plan, Ronda was a fish out of water. All right, so that's my breakdown of the fights. Congratulations again to Holly Holm with the big knockout. Now you look at Ronda's antics; it's a little bit disappointing. You saw everybody talked about the weigh-in where Ronda came charging across the stage to confront Holly Holm, and Holly calmly put her drink down and basically stood right there and said, "I'm right here, sweetheart. I'm not going anywhere." Where you saw other fighters in the past, they shrunk a little bit in that scenario. Here comes, wow, look at this lioness chasing me, coming at me across the cage, and they back down, and Ronda gets in their head. And in this case, it wasn't the case at all. Holly stood her ground. She remained very composed. Yes, she pushed back when the time was right, but it was Ronda who put her hands up first in that scenario. So she provoked that little confrontation, and you could see Ronda was rattled with her post-fight, or with her post-weigh-in comments. Now, pre-fight, we get the no touch of gloves come on. That no touch of gloves, she was going with that bad girl attitude, and obviously that caught up. And then the post-first round punch that a lot of people, it was close. People were saying it was thrown before the bell went and landed obviously after the bell. Either way, it was a borderline strike that Ronda, probably had intention of throwing out there, knowing Holly was going to let her guard down maybe a smidge as the bell was going. Either way, the optics of it just didn't look good. When it comes down to it, Ronda went out on her shield. She got knocked out. But some of the things that when you go back and analyze the whole scenario, it just does not look good for a champion. She was getting away with that attitude and those antics when she was the champ. Everybody's saying, "Oh, look, she's her own woman. She doesn't back down from anyone." And now it looks like she's kind of like almost a child, a little bit, very childish. in a sense. Where do we go from here? The first question is, does Ronda get an immediate rematch? The UFC, I think, would probably love to do that, set it up. It's, the loss is fresh in everyone's minds. Give Ronda an opportunity to get back in there and get her title back, quote unquote, her title, if you still believe that. I would go as far as saying the UFC would be very intelligent to avoid an immediate rematch. Let Holly Holm defend her title against somebody else. Give Miesha Tate her opportunity to fight for the title that she earned when she defeated Jessica. There is no excuse not to, other than saying Ronda needs an immediate rematch. Give Miesha Tate the chance to fight for the title. It's a fresh look on the women's bantamweight division. It gives Ronda Rousey a chance to relax, recoup, recover, analyze, and see what she wants to go. I would like to see Ronda. It won't happen. I would like to see Ronda have a tune-up fight. Ronda versus Jessica I. Ronda versus someone she hasn't fought and probably won't be fighting the title in the not too distant future or at all. Let Ronda fight someone, get a win, get momentum back up, get that aura a little bit recovered. That will build it. Then you can say, look, here's the champion, the former champion. She's back. She's on the warpath. Give her opportunity to fight for the title. In addition, Holly Holm, if she beats Miesha Tate, which I would think she would with her striking and takedown defense, she wins that fight. You say, look at the dominant champion. She is a champion. She's defended the title once. She's obliterated a top contender, and that just builds towards the next fight and really stretches it out. Because if Ronda loses 2 consecutive fights to Holly Holm in devastating fashion, she's done as a contender in that division. She's done. Her aura is gone, which is already pretty much gone. Just her significance is greatly diminished, and the UFC needs to stretch this out as long as they possibly can and really build towards the next fight. Other things, I said Miesha Tate, she should be fighting for the title next. No question about it. If Ronda doesn't take the rematch and the UFC says take some time, let Miesha have her shot at the title. Give some other girls the limelight. I think it's well deserved. Amanda Nunes, another fighter who is very much in the mix. If Ronda takes time away, I think it should be Miesha versus Holly Holm, and Amanda Nunes gets the winner of that opportunity. I think that's an exciting fight. Generally speaking, especially I read some of the tweets, the women's division, the populace of that division for the bantamweights, they are excited at this opportunity. You got girls like Sarah Kaufman, who are still very relevant in the division now that Ronda Rousey's gone, realizes they're only a win or 2 away from fighting for the title. Before with Ronda Rousey, it's just like you got smoked in under 30 seconds, you got smoked inside the first round, you are not in contention and won't be fighting for the title anytime soon. Now, you look who Holly Holm's fought in the UFC. 2 girls, Raquel Pennington and Marion Renault, neither of which are in the top contention for the title right now. So people like Miesha Tate, Sarah Kaufman, Alexis Davis, so again, congratulations on the pregnancy, she's out for a bit. Who else? Amanda Nunes, who has the title, Raquel Pennington. All these girls are gearing up for an opportunity to fight Ronda Rousey, are gearing up for an opportunity to fight Holly Holm, knowing that Ronda Rousey is on the outside looking in. So it's very exciting as far as the bantamweight division is concerned. Another big question, Cyborg. What does Cristiano Justino say? Does she say, I'm not interested? Now I'm cutting to 135 pounds. My entire reason for cutting to 135 pounds is gone with Ronda out. Does she walk in and say, I want to fight Holly Holm now? That's a big fight still. You've got 2 elite level strikers going at it. That will put butts in seats. If you want to promote Holly Holm as a badass, Fox, UFC on Fox, Holm versus Cyborg, main event, people will tune in and if you're going to rebuild the division's champion, that's how you do it. If Cyborg says, I'm ready, let Holly Holm fight Miesha Tate, and then when Cyborg is ready for a shot, let Cyborg come in and fight Holly Holm on a Fox where everyone can tune in and watch. People will see, here's the girl that's destroyed Ronda Rousey, here's the girl that destroyed Miesha Tate, most likely, and now she's fighting one of the most dominant women's fighters in a long time in Cyborg Santos. I want to see that happen. Cyborg, just whatever she calls herself nowadays. Either way, it's very interesting. I don't know if Cyborg might just say to hell with it. They shouldn't match her up with Ronda, because if Cyborg comes in and smokes Ronda, which she very well could based on what we just saw, her title opportunities are obviously gone. That's out the window. Either way, very interesting. I keep saying that. I'm very excited about this division going forward. Now, you look at the impact of Ronda outside of MMA and how this affects her. We saw her popularity in the WWE. Well, she's not a badass anymore. She got her head stomped in. She got her head caved in a fight. And people, you can promote her as a badass. Now that she's had that loss, people are going to look at it and say, yeah, but you got absolutely destroyed. Yes, I know Brock Lesnar got lit up by Cain Velasquez and is now back in the UFC or back in the WWE doing big things. But the thing is, he was a long-established fighter in the WWE, and they kind of see his UFC chapter as just a different section in his life. With Ronda Rousey, UFC was her life. It is her life. That's where she's made her bread and butter. And now, she's not the baddest woman on the planet anymore. Clearly, Holly Holm is. So also the movie deals as well. She, is her popularity going to wane? Her appearances on talk shows and other things. I think it could take a hit here. That level of, you're not going to call the number one ranked fighter in the division who got smoked in to have an interview on Jimmy Kimmel or Jimmy Fallon. You're not going to see that happening. And you're certainly not going to see it happening if she gets beat again. That'll be just gone. So I think she's going to take some massive hits. And another big question is, what goes on with Reebok? I know they have a deal with Ronda Rousey. Do they continue to, how long does that deal last? When is the cutoff point? Do they step in and make a deal with Holly Holm as well? You look at Ronda, she doesn't have a ton of, she's got some fights in Strikeforce in the UFC, but she doesn't have those big fights where if she goes back to the regular pay scale, the regular sponsorship, that's going to be a massive blow to her. I'm sure Uncle Dana will take care of her, and that's the biggest thing. And speaking of Uncle Dana, or Daddy Dana, whatever you want to call him, Dana White, he looked like, I saw an interview post-fight, pre-post the press conference, and he looked like he had just buried his dog. And you could see after the fight was over, when they were in the ring, he was smiling and joking at times with Holly Holm's family and Holly Holm's corner, whoever's in the cage supporting her. But whenever the camera caught him not engaging with those people, you could see the trouble on his face. He has just lost one of his golden gooses, one of his cash cows, one of his big money makers. Holly Holm's a great champion. Her marketability is not like Ronda Rousey's. She's more of a everybody loved George St. Pierre, but Holly is more of a professional athlete, not this bad girl that Ronda Rousey wanted to be in the Hollywood limelight. I don't expect to see Holly Holm in Expendable 65 or whatever's coming up. And that's the thing. Dana realizes that the noteworthy aspect of Ronda Rousey and the attachment to mainstream media that she was bringing in is gone. Yeah, this fight was big because it's making, I looked on TSN.ca and CBS Sports. It's the number one story right now, which is huge. It's usually never the number one story. But this is a massive upset, so it's garnering a lot of media attention. It's bigger than Velasquez over Lesnar. It's bigger than Dillashaw over Brow. It's bigger than St. Pierre losing to Matt Serra. But that's going to fade eventually, and I think Dana realizes that. And then the second aspect of it, and the interview I watched, she said UFC 194 is just a month away, and it's going to feature Conor McGregor versus Jose Aldo. And you just saw you can see the little thought go through Mr. White's bald head. He realizes in the span of a month, his two biggest draws the UFC has to offer in Miss Rousey and Mr. Conor McGregor could be completely wiped off the face of the MMA as far as significance is concerned, should Conor go down against Jose Aldo, which is it very well could happen. And he's realizing the two big draws. That's my guess. Ronda Rousey will be joined by Conor McGregor on the cover of the new EA UFC game. Those two fighters could be rendered insignificant, obsolete, if Aldo goes and murks Conor in his title shot. People aren't going to be tuning in. Conor's still a draw, especially in Ireland. He's still a draw. He's still fun. He's still exciting. But again, another fighter who might have the ability to slightly transcend the MMA world and draw some people in. You've seen this Irish guy. He talks trash. He goes out and knocks guys out. He does exactly what he says he's going to do. Oh, yeah, he just got laid waste to by a champion who's a great champion who has a tendency to not fight for prolonged periods of time between title fights. It's just one of those situations. And even if Conor does get by Jose Aldo, well, you've got Frankie Edgar waiting in the wings as another extremely tough challenge, and probably Chad Mendes waiting down the road, who could give him a run for his money, healthy with a full camp Mendes, all that crap. Either way, it's a very dark time for the UFC right now as far as their mainstream appeal, because as long as Ronda Rousey is the champion, if Conor lost, we still have Ronda. We still have her doing everything she's doing and bringing in people and fighting and lighting up the division. Now you don't have that safety net. You've got John Jones, who's kind of a bad guy, but he doesn't outside the MMA world, he doesn't do things like Ronda Rousey did, unfortunately or fortunately. There's not, Fabricio Verdum, same thing. Not, these champions, Chris Weidman, same situation. There's not these guys bringing the mainstream media in, and now they've lost that, and now it's like, oh shit, where do we go from here? And where do you go from here? UFC 194 is going to be a lot of fun. UFC 193 was pretty good. Quickly talking about my performance, I went 6-7. I've now had 3 consecutive performances where I had one more loss than win. Disappointing. One of them I did make money at still, which was nice. But overall, it's been a bit of a, some difficult fights, some fights with lesser known fighters, with lesser sample sizes of fights to draw upon. I'm not making excuses. I just shit the bed in these scenarios. I'm disappointed. I apologize to my people who bought my bet packs. I appreciate it. But stick with me. I will turn things around. We do have the UFC. It's Fight Night 78, also the Ultimate Fighter Latin America 2 finale, which is coming up next weekend. I'm only going to predict, I think it's 9 fights. Because of the massive rush of fights every week till now to the end of the year, basically, I'm going to take this opportunity to just break down the UFC proper. I've heard that used a lot, and I like that UFC proper fighter roster members, if you don't understand what I'm saying. I'm not going to touch the Latin America fights, even the finals. It's just too much to do as far as research is concerned, and I'm not going to delve into those fights. So I'm starting basically from no point on. And a lot of those guys will probably, especially the guys who lose, won't be with the UFC anymore afterwards. So yeah, I'm going to take not a break. I'm just going to help myself condense my work. Either way, UFC 193 was awesome. I'm excited to see where they go from here. It would make my day if they told if Ronda Rousey took a break, and I think she might take her ball and go home. But either way, it's going to be very exciting going forward. And I guess I think on that note, we're going to call it quits for this morning. So please, if you notice, we are on Facebook and we are on Twitter now. So make sure you sign up for both. Like my Facebook page. I don't know. Do you subscribe to Twitter? I'm kind of new at this Twitter game. So Kamikaze Overdrive is running Twitter, and we're tweeting. I don't know. But yeah, so make sure you do whatever the heck it is you do with that. Follow us. We'll tweet crap all the time. Either way, thanks for listening, guys, and take care.